Sorry, Eric, I'm all tense and stressed.
Find your happy place. Find your happy place.
And I have, you know, Eric, you know me. I'm always scheming new ideas.
Yeah.
Every week, I'm going to have a different silly hat.
Oh, great.
Look at that, man.
That's.
I went to Goodwill yesterday, and I was like, "Show me where all your silly hats are." He said, "Right this way, sir." I uploaded a clip of our abortion debate, and like, it got 5 views. And I titled it...
You mean our most recent one or the
our
original?
Most recent... Yeah, remember we were like yelling at each other?
Yeah, we got off on that topic.
So yeah, I uploaded it, and I titled it, Abortion Debate Gets Heated on the Digital Dystopia podcast. And it was like 5 views. I'm like, who couldn't click that? Me wearing my silly little jingly hat, and you looked so angry in the thumbnail. You were like, "Ah!" For the past 10 years, we've been boiling up this, like, do not be anti-Islam, it's hate speech, you know what I mean? Identitarianism. And now it's like, oh, we're showing Taliban taking over a country. Like, it feels like that doesn't mix well with the woke environment.
Well, the woke faction doesn't control all of the information and all the ideas we're getting.
Yeah.
They're still considered pretty extreme so far, even by most people on the left. The responsible left, for want of a better term, is I think they've got most things right, but they're not very assertive, and that's one of the reasons they're losing to the lunatics, because lunatics can always take control. They do whatever is necessary. They have no principles.
I can't believe you said they're not assertive, Eric. I think they're the most assertive.
They're kind of mealy mouthed.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you know what? Okay, let me bring this up. I saw. You know who Russell Brand is? He's like an English guy, British guy.
British guy.
Yeah, he's like very into. Well, anyway, he debated Candace Owens this week, and Russell Brand is typically. I don't know if he's a socialist. But he's one of those eat the rich guys, you know. He wants people to be equal, he hates the rich, but now he's making videos interviewing Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and all the right-wingers. So it sounds like he's kind of like starting to like go over to the right, maybe because a lot of people on this are leaving the left. Like, you know, because they're like, this is getting insane. And they were debating. And
a lot of people are leaving the right too, pal.
Well...
Go on.
Are they really?
Yeah. Just today I heard about a former governor or attorney general or something like that. He's always been a Republican. He's always run as a Republican. He not only did he quit the Republican Party out of disgust with the Trumpists, but they don't all become Democrats. But this guy did.
He sounds like an opportunist to me.
Well, yes, I'm sure he does.
If I were like
if you were going to be an opportunist, you'd hang in there with Trump, because the opportunities in Trump world seem limitless right now.
Really?
Yes.
I thought they were all locked up in Guantanamo Bay because of the Capitol riot and being massively censored off the internet.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, they committed a crime. It's one thing to commit plus they were just rank and file working class slobs. But when I talk about the Trumpists and the Trump Republicans, I'm talking about the elite.
Well, Eric, I was editing the podcast last week, and I made a point. I said the right-wingers, 9,000 right-wing subreddits and YouTube channels were banned in a day last year. And it's... I don't know. I don't know.
Well, that's one venue over which the left probably has more control than the right. I'll grant you that, just like academia. But what were you saying about this guy?
So Candace Owens and Russell Brand, that they were debating and they were treating...
I think I've heard of Candace Owens. Who's she?
She's the black right-winger who... she doesn't buy into the whole Black Lives Matter stuff. She's the... A lot of the left-wingers accuse Candace Owens, I forgot what term, they call them Uncle Toms, say that Candace Owens is an opportunist and the right wingers use her as like a puppet to say racist things because she'll get away with it because she's black. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what they mean.
It shows to me what a bad state our country is in, that you need to use a black person to say certain things, or otherwise you're going to be under scrutiny. So anyway, she was debating Russell Brand, and they were treating each other with respect. And like, a lot of people in the comment section were like, wow, what a great debate. They're having a dialogue, you know? They disagree, but they go into depth about it. And I realized that debates are dead now. Like, if you watch modern day...
Maybe they're coming back.
Well, if you watch... I always talk about BreadTube. If you watch modern day debates, it seems like each side just wants to destroy each other and humiliate the other side. And that's really scary. They call it the battlefield of ideas. Because you should...
Well, they've always called it that, but it's getting nasty. You're right about that.
You shouldn't... Think about how many people don't want to admit that they're right wing now, because they just don't. There's such a stigma to it, you know. Like it's a really scary situation that if you watch two people respect each other in a debate, it's a rare thing. You know what I mean?
Now who is Russell? What Russell? Who? Russell Brand?
Russell Brand. He's a British comedian, kind of lefty.
He has been a lefty, but he's drifting right now.
He's drifting to the right because he realizes that the government is taking complete control over the entire world. You know, and it's...
Well, which government? The government of the UK, or...
That's one thing you and I disagree on, Eric, is that I always say that sometimes the things you say seem very old world, and when I say old world, I mean 2019. Because... nowadays, I made the point that most governments right now are doing the same thing in lockstep. Whether or not people want to admit it, we are in a new world. It's a new way now, where you cannot say what you want to say. Like, if you have any protest against what's going on in the economy right now, or certain mandated things that we all know what I'm talking about, all they have to do is call you a far-right person, and then people stop thinking.
Terms like far-right and far-left, they're the air is filled with them. Everybody's calling each other far-right, far-left, far-this, far-that.
Yeah, it kind of feels
You think the right-wingers aren't using terms like
they
far-lefts a lot?
But if a right-winger calls somebody far-left, it doesn't ruin their entire career. It's kind of like if somebody promotes Antifa, they're going to be celebrated by Jimmy Kimmel in the mainstream media. But if somebody says that they support the Proud Boys, they're done. They're gone. Like that guy from Mumford & Sons.
From what?
There's a band called Mumford & Sons. And you know that Andy Ngo guy? And he reports on Antifa. He's a little Chinese guy. He made a book about Antifa, and the guy from Mumford & Sons tweeted, "Thank you for making this book." And they kicked him out of the band. So, that's the difference to me. But, let's talk about Nicki Minaj. You know about that?
Yeah, I heard. I had never heard of her before this flare-up. But
pop stars.
Yeah, pops. Another f***ing celebrity.
What do you think?
What do I think about what? About what she said? About her?
Yeah,
about refusing to get vaccinated?
Let's give our audience, our huge audience, Eric, I can picture all of them out there. Let's give them some context. Because that's one thing people don't do anymore. It's like, they'll go rattle on about politics. No context. So, Nicki Minaj, she tweeted that her, I think brother or something, got the jab, and then his balls swelled up, and he got really sick.
I think I did hear something about that.
And she is being lambasted by the media. She is being excommunicated. And I'm just thinking, like, man, Nicki Minaj is awesome. What a hero. What an American hero.
Well, wait a minute. First, is that true? Did Did her brother's balls swell up?
I believe that it could have happened. I don't know.
Excuse me? Well, you sounded pretty damn sure of yourself when you were going on about this earlier.
I 100% believe her. Because, see, that's the thing. That once we get into this territory about talking about the V word, that's when I get really iffy on how deep we should go. But regardless of whether it's true or not.
Regardless of whether it's true.
That almost doesn't matter. The point is that she had an opinion. She tweeted it. And now she is... Oh my God, she's being, like, destroyed.
Blacklisted.
Who knows?
Well, I don't know. I don't know I heard the story, that what she said about her. All right, somebody's balls swelling up.
Balls.
I'm kind of in and out when I'm listening to the news. Unfortunately, I get easily distracted. I get ADD or something. But I caught something about. I thought it was a joke. You get the jab, your balls swell up. Somebody said something to that effect. I didn't realize that we were talking about her brother.
Something like that. I might have got some of the finer details wrong. But here's another example, very similar. There's a big political guy, probably the biggest political guy right now, Tim Pool. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
I think I've heard you mention him.
He makes videos and says, regardless of what you believe about the V word, talk to your doctor. That's pretty baseline advice. Talk to your doctor about it.
Well, the left has been giving us that advice for a while. I've heard it numerous times.
Not anymore, they're not.
What are they saying?
They don't even want you to talk to your doctor. They say,
What the hell are you talking about? Where are you getting this from?
See, we need to start mixing in similar stuff, because the stuff that I'm talking about is happening.
Where are you getting it? Where did you see this?
YouTube political content. I mean, just look at what's happening to Nicki Minaj. She's under the fire. She's on top of the fire right now.
Well, she may be, and if she's all I heard that she hadn't gotten vaccinated, and they asked her why, and she said something about. Like I say, I'd never heard of this person before, and she doesn't sound. She's just another, pop star.
Yeah.
But of course, she's entitled to her opinion. But if she said something about she had to research it more or something before she got vaccinated, and I wondered. It sounded a little mealy mouth. I was wondering if she was backpedaling from a harder position that she had taken earlier.
Oh, she probably will backpedal. So far, she went on Instagram Live to her audience, and she said, "This feels like communist China." Like a subtle difference between America and China. Like, if you watch Sean Penn getting interviewed about politics, he'll be like, "Oh, I hate George Bush. I hate the government, blah, blah, blah." You can get away with that in America. But in China, who's that kung fu guy? Jackie Chan? Every time you see a celebrity in China getting interviewed, they immediately say, "I love Xi Jinping. I love the Communist Party." Nicki Minaj made a point that you cannot even have an opinion anymore. And this ties in. This is one thing I hate, that people in certain left-wing political factors, they always say, "You have the right to free speech. You can say whatever you want. Nobody's going to stop you." It's like, yeah, that's true, but what about internet censorship? And there's a term that's going around. It's called corporate law. And I got into an argument recently with this girl that called me. She said, I made a point to her. I said, if you're in the workplace and you insult somebody and say that they have white privilege, "Oh, they're white privileged, screw them, white trash," you'll get promoted. Nobody will give you crap for that.
You'll get promoted.
You can insult Republicans and white people.
That's all it takes. You can say that and get promoted.
I might be over exemplifying a little bit.
Maybe a little.
But if you went into the workplace and said, say you are a marginalized group of a different skin color, you insult them in the workplace, whether it's because of their race or because of their character, you are going to be fired. And if you are a public figure in America and you insult protected classes, you're done. You're gone. So at this point, it feels like the Constitution is almost irrelevant in the new world that we're living in now. Could you at least admit that, Eric? That makes sense. That could happen. That we now live under corporate law, and big tech censorship seems to be mass banning one side to the point where people are afraid to speak up. Like Nicki Minaj speaking up, I was like, whoa, a celebrity is speaking up about this? How weird. It concerns me how rare certain things have become. Like, you see a nice, respectful debate, oh, that's rare. Oh, you see a celebrity speak up against the mainstream establishment, legacy media, that's rare. Doesn't that concern you?
Well, yes, it does. I know what you're referring to, and yes, that is something that's becoming pretty. Well, I guess it's becoming common. I'm hearing about it, and and I don't plug into right-wing news sources very much, but yes, I've heard of this going on, and yes, it's very concerning. We seem to be moving in that direction.
Oh, and you know what's even worse is when Nicki Minaj made that tweet. There's this really popular socialist, you know, the Young Turks, Sheikh Yinker or whatever his name is. They're like a liberal leaning. His nephew, Cenk Uygur or whatever, his name is Hassan Abi. When I saw the Nicki Minaj tweet, Nicki Minaj was defending Tucker Carlson, and Hassan Abi wrote, you know that guy's a white nationalist, right? And I'm like, you worm. You were just a worm. These people are worms. How much longer are we going to let this go on? Like, oh, what this person is saying doesn't matter because I've classified them as a white nationalist? Doesn't that piss you off too, Eric? That the word racism is a permanent stain put on people by this f***ing authoritarian mob that seems to, they congregate in hives. And they never get attacked individually. You ever notice they only get attacked as the mob? But if Tucker Carlson speaks out about something, he gets lambasted by the media. Tim Pool said, "Talk to your doctor," and the media put a hit piece out on him all at once.
I don't know. I gotta look into that.
What a worm, though. He's a white nationalist, right? And here's another point. I even wrote this in my little Google Doc notes. Say we were to have a hot civil war, like in a couple months. Say stuff got real serious. Joe Biden started
You mean a shooting war?
Kind of like that. Like a guerrilla shooting war that turned violent. Maybe not direct battlefield war. Who do you think is going to win? Which side do you think has more passion? The realistic side that tends to lean more right and is concerned with a collapsing economy that's coming, by the way, or these people that are living in their comfort world.
When I contemplate something like the shooting war or this, what'd you call it, a hot civil war, I see it as occurring mainly between as far as the right goes. It's going to be QAnon and people like that. They're going to be on the front lines, and I would not call them the champions of reason in any way.
That's a straw man.
Okay, maybe so,
okay.
But okay, who do you have in mind? Who do you think is going to be manning the guns on the right?
See, that's the thing. I don't like to blanket people on the right. At this point,
maybe you shouldn't have brought it up.
At this point, what I think a right-leaning person is somebody that's like, oh wait, ever since 2020 started, the government has almost authoritarian power. They're forcing us to do things that is not our choice. The economy is
just since 2020.
Since pretty much like 2020 is when it amplified. And now I'm under the belief that the economy is being held up by like fishing string right now. And all these like kind of left-leaning people that are like, oh, I don't like racism. I don't like transphobia. In their mind, they're like, well, Walmart's still open, so I can still go to Walmart. I need one of those toothbrush holders. Like the finances are about to collapse. And my point is, people that tend to believe and congregate with my line of thought are sitting here boiling. We're boiling like frogs.
Yeah, that I know.
And we're starting to feel like we're border people. I feel like a lot of them, and I'm not even saying you, I'm talking about other people, they live in like this fantasy world where they're like, oh, well, I guess the economy will be okay. Oh.
The left is a little wimpier than the right.
I'm glad you agree
I'll say one thing for the right. They are impassioned.
Yes.
Impassioned to the point of near or total irrationality.
It's funny that you said impassioned, because I was going to make a point about compassion.
Compassion.
I could imagine that people that kind of congregate in your corners of the political stratosphere, I could picture that they look at somebody like me and they think, wow, that guy has no compassion. He doesn't care if people die. People are getting sick, and he wants them to die because he's worried about the economy. But can't you realistically admit that the measures taken to combat what happened in 2020 could potentially be far worse?
What specifically are you referring to?
I'm trying to be cryptic.
Yeah, yes, you are, and you're succeeding. Are we back to the V word or something?
Okay,
is that what this is about?
I'll put it this way. When you look at me complaining about the economy, it makes it look like I have no compassion for the people that are sick and that the people that could die, regardless of whether it's less than 1%.
Listen, I myself have heard you say that boy, I can't remember, this is quite a while ago, and I can't remember exactly how you worded it, but you were talking about this conflict that we've got between the urgency of this pandemic, if it's real, and I'm not real straight on where you are on that, or whether or not you even think it's real.
Oh, I do.
It's real, and people are getting infected. Some people are dying.
Less than 1%.
What?
Less than 1%.
That
never gets brought up anymore.
What?
That never gets brought up anymore.
It's true. It doesn't get brought up. I admit that.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean it isn't serious. What you're referring to? I heard it was a little more than 1%. It was 4 or 6% or something like that of the people who are dying died from the virus by itself. Everybody else who's dying is dying because they had pre-existing conditions of some kind. They had diabetes. They were obese. And by the way, I think a lot of the people who are dying, I can't sympathize with them because they had let their health go.
Yes.
And that's a problem that's pandemic in itself in the United States. Mm-hmm. Nobody thinks they're obliged, either for themselves or their family or their community or their country, to stay fit, to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got people like that, some people are kind of, they're teetering on the edge of death anyway, maybe,
yes.
Or they've got pretty seriously debilitating conditions. Then they catch this virus, then that's going to finish them off.
Okay, so yeah, we both agree on that. But do you think that your average Joe looks at people like me who are concerned about the economy and the loss of freedom and think, oh, that bastard has no compassion? Because I feel like specifically sheepish kind of people, I know a lot of people that don't even watch the mainstream media. So they don't know really anything. They hear the word virus and they go, oh, people are getting sick. I don't care about freedom anymore. Screw the economy. They look at people like me and say, you have no compassion. But here's the point that I want to make, is I would say that people like me are constantly losing sleep at night, worried about other people. Compassion.
Worrying about what's going on with other people.
Yeah, what's going to happen to the children right now? That they were just getting into the 4th grade, they were getting used to school and friends and homework, and now they're like living in this dystopian stay at home and do Zoom classes. What's going to happen to their mental?
Oh, their mental state is shot.
They're screwed.
The mental state of a lot of people in this country is shot, and around the world.
Yeah.
Because we've got this situation, and it seems like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. what we're being advised by the experts is, I mean, we're caught between the people who want to promote the economy, which is certainly understandable, and we're floundering seriously economically. I know that, due largely to the pandemic, because any measures we take to combat the pandemic and try to contain this virus, is going to have an impact on the economy. There's no way around it.
Uh-huh.
So what do we do? Well, some time ago you said, okay, let's just open up the economy. Everybody go back to work, go back to school, and if people die, people die.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
I still believe that.
That doesn't sound very compassionate to me.
Because here's
I'm not even saying I disagree, really.
It's a multi-layered subject, because one of the worst parts about everything that's happened post-2020, it's not just what's happening right now, it's what's going to happen in the future. Like, a good point that a lot of people like me make is,
it's all about the future, pal.
Are we going to get the freedom back? Like, after all this tech censorship, like, are we... One, I don't think we're going to go back to normal. But it's like...
No, nobody thinks we're going back to normal.
This is like a many... I always say this dumb term, a many-tentacled octopus. There are so many crazy things happening right now, and I don't think that we are going to go back. And all this censorship is happening under the name of, oh, misinformation is killing people. So I'm worried about the children that are going to be... to rise in this world that is now an authoritarian nightmare where we don't have individual liberties or freedoms anymore. I'm worried sick about all the families that had mom and pop businesses that are now replaced by Walmart. That's the whole thing. I thought the left-wingers were supposed to be very big anti-establishment, anti-capitalism.
Well, the roles of the roles of the right and the left, the Democrats and the Republicans, are a little foggier than they used to be.
Think about how many people just go to Walmart now. Like, seriously.
What?
I haven't...
What's this about Walmart?
I bet you 80% of people in America, if they need anything right now, their default idea is, let's go to Walmart or let's buy it on Amazon.
That's pretty much mine.
So, I don't see how people can't look at that and go, wait a minute, is this going to turn into like State Mart company store crap, where Walmart is the only place that can sell? And not only that, right now we have the opportunity, if we want to go to Walmart and we wanted to buy like some mayonnaise, a Bible, a fishing pole, we could buy all of them for cheap. But once Walmart takes over, once Amazon takes over, everything's going to, they're going to hike the prices. And then I want you to tell me how good egalitarianism is.
Well, I agree with you there. I can see that happening. I mean, I don't even think about where to go. I go to Walmart automatically because it's got a lot of stuff there and the prices are good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you never go there?
I go to Walmart, but I hate it. I really hate Walmart. I've always hated Walmart. Just because it's, I've always said that Walmart and Amazon are the end goal of, they call it late stage capitalism.
Well,
and that's a concern.
Yes, yeah. A lot of things about the economy and about corporate America have always been of great concern, and I guess things are afoot now that maybe we didn't even anticipate 10, 20, 30 years ago or more, about how outfits like when we first started using the internet, and then it became a thing to shop on the internet. I don't think it ever occurred to anybody in the early stages of this thing that this could lead to the collapse of brick and mortar stores. The trend now is toward ordering everything online.
Yes.
And I do a lot of that myself. Mm-hmm. Why should I get up and leave the house, burn up gas?
Yeah.
When I can just order stuff. I can see where that's gonna, the way we're evolving into something that is not in every respect a good thing, but one way or the another, economies evolve, businesses evolve, cultures evolve. And a lot of what they evolve into, or at least certainly when we anticipate what they're going to evolve into, sound very alarming.
Yes.
And that you could very well be right about Walmart and some of these other places. I'd never thought of that specifically.
Well,
but what are we going to do? What do you recommend?
I mean, I think it's way too late to do anything about it.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Is that true? Like, when I think of people on the left that are very, I think of Michael Moore. Michael Moore seemed, he was like very anti-establishment. He wanted to defend the little guy. He hated the big corporations. And now I bet you Michael Moore supports a system that is making Amazon and Walmart the only freaking option.
You bet he does?
I probably know he does, actually.
Well, why is he doing it?
My point is that, everything in politics is multi-layered and complex, but it's just ironic to me that these people, they support stuff that contradicts their beliefs all the time. And I'm sure a lot of people on my kind of corner, because I don't even know what to call myself, so I just a libertarian. Did you hear about the AOC thing?
I saw where she went to a ball or something at a very exclusive something or other, some kind of event, big soiree that was going on in New York City, and she showed up and
$35,000.
What, her gown?
No, I think the ticket to get into the event.
$35,000?
Yeah. And I think she had a dress that said "Eat the Rich" on it. What are your thoughts on AOC?
I
know,
think she's a useless bitch.
She is. She's an opportunist.
I think she may be that too. I think she's certainly with that little stunt that she pulled. That's just like Gavin Newsom going to that splashy dinner at the French Laundry in the middle where there was no masking and everybody were packed in. Same thing. Crass hypocrisy. I've always thought that AOC was... I have liked her and admired her from time to time. I think I've seen her comport herself very well in Senate hearings about things. She's very smart and very articulate. Mm-hmm. But, with this, she's shown herself to be a true hypocrite. And I've always thought of her as an albatross around the necks of the whole liberal movement.
Yeah.
I think of her as an asset to the Republican Party, and that stunt was a perfect example of why.
Because she's such a punching bag? Is that why? She's such a punching bag for the right?
Yeah. Well, because she tarnishes the Democratic Party and the whole liberal movement. Because they say they call the Democrats the party of AOC. Mm-hmm. I've heard them use that term.
Well, this gets into, I used to wholeheartedly believe that these far-left rising socialist types, I used to believe that they had good intentions and that they really wanted an equal, fair world.
Really?
But I'm now starting to look at them as like, oh, wait, these people might be like opportunists that just want to mingle with the elite.
Well, yes, that's what happens to a lot of them. I agree, but that again is not a feature exclusively of the left. People enter politics with all kinds of very high-minded intentions. They're going to, straighten things out and clean things up and bring the light of civilization to the masses. But they enter politics, they start getting a whiff of power, and it intoxicates them.
Yes.
And power, as somebody said once, power corrupts.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Corrupts absolutely.
What do you think you would be like, Eric, if you got put in a position of
I might well turn out the same way. So might you.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. I've always made this point on the podcast, but to critique society for a moment, one thing that we got to get away from. So essentially politics. Say a guy, a good-hearted young rascal.
Idealist.
Yes, he runs for politics, but then he realizes that all these companies and corporations are going to pay him to do what they want.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So all of a sudden, every politician becomes like this corrupt person on strings that gets intoxicated by the power. Do you think there's any way out of that system? Like,
No.
yeah, that's the thing. Some people talk about blockchain. I don't know if you heard of that blockchain. It's really complex, and I don't even know if I understand it. But like, imagine if, say, in order to fight internet censorship, we had like a lock system where like you made the rules and put a timer on it. Like, what if you were like, okay, for the next 5 years, we will create this algorithm that cannot censor anybody no matter what. It cannot be changed, and in 5 years we'll unlock it. Does that make sense? Like, we'll set an algorithm that we lock for a couple years, and it cannot be tampered with. What if we did that?
What?
That
What
would
if
be
they?
Amazing, yeah.
You mean amazing in a good way? That would be a good thing.
But it kind of sounds like the beast system in the Bible. So I don't know. I don't. I'm at the point where I don't believe anything has good intentions anymore. People talk about Bitcoin and blockchain. I don't think there's any. I don't think we're ever going to enter a utopian system where the people decide, and all of a sudden money doesn't rule the fucking world. You know?
No, I don't think so either. I do think that despite all that, there are still good people who enter politics and who stay relatively untarnished as long as they're there.
And that just goes to show you that the government machine, it's so complex and interlocked. And not only can you not really beat it, but you can't. It's almost like in 1984 with thought crime. Most people can't even think outside the grander scheme, including me. You know, sometimes I get sucked into these like ideologies where you're ultimately powerless and you don't feel like you can make a resistance movement and fight the government. It's like a well-oiled machine with many tentacles. And to me, I think that's a very healthy thing to believe that. Believe that the government is too powerful and we need to...
It's a healthy thing to believe the government is too powerful and there's no point... It's a colossal machine and you can't fight the machine.
Exactly. And this is...
And that's healthy in what respect? I mean, as long as you stay clear of all that and don't try to resist the machine, you stay healthy?
I mean that people like me, there's a certain amount of skepticism that seems to be lost now on people. How many skeptics are out there? There's not many.
I don't know. No, there aren't. I think skepticism is a hugely useful and admirable faculty, and I think it's something that's really gone out the window. It's in the dustbin of history. Like you say, I don't know very many skeptics.
Yep.
I'm not. Well, I don't know very many people at all, but of the people I know, I guess they're healthfully skeptical. They're not always skeptical about the same things that I am,
or the right thing.
The right thing, if you will. Sure.
Well, here's the thing, Eric. You are a left-leaning person, but one thing about you is you never lost your skepticism, and that's a very good thing that I think is really dying out in young people.
Yeah. And
we should do a whole episode on this. But my question is, how did they do it to people? How are there so... If you go on any subreddit right now, the top post is usually, we need to fight this misinformation. How did they get so many people to want to censor stuff? That baffles me. I have a theory that commercials may have done it.
Well, this compulsion to censor is not... It's not the same thing. Are you saying that they're doing it because of excess skepticism gone wild, or a deficiency of skepticism?
Deficiency of it. They don't want anybody to have alternative opinions, and
nobody wants other people to have alternative opinions.
How did they turn people into that? Like all these. This is what I always make this point, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the people that tend to defend Antifa and defend defend marginalized people, transgenders and stuff, they really like that right now only one side seems to be massively censored. And I always want to make the point. Imagine if the mainstream media, schools, and institutions, imagine if they were very conservative. Imagine if Trevor Noah and Jimmy Kimmel were like big Trumpers. The left-wingers would be going insane right now. And if they were under attack, it's like, I can't believe that they're okay with censorship as long as it happens to their enemy, but they don't see how slippery of a slope that is.
Well, that's true of all sides, don't you think?
Well, it could be, but it seems to tend to be that 9,000 right-wing accounts were banned in a day, and I have never seen a socialist bread tuber get banned off of YouTube, ever. So the point I'm trying to make is, you know what my theory is to how they got people to be the sheepy 1984 people? Public school. I'm very against public education now.
Do you think everybody should be homeschooled?
I think that once we eliminate the possibility to have very four border schools, once we make it
Border
so
schools?
border schools, homeschooling, alternative schools,
Yeah.
we need to have that.
Oh, no, we do not.
What? You want it to be all public education?
Yes.
Oh, come on, Eric.
As,
That's the most communist thing you've ever said.
well, maybe I'm more of a communist than even you suspected, Brandon. I recognize that there are problems with public education, and there may be trends afoot in public education that's very troubling. It could be that they're educating, they're trying to get kids to become woke and that sort of thing. That's possible. I haven't been part of that world in a long time, but I don't think we could do worse than to just break up the public schools, in which there at least is some kind of oversight and some kind of uniformity of program, and turn it all over to private schools and homeschooling.
Not all.
Well, what's the alternative?
We need to give people the option to homeschool.
Oh, option to homeschool.
Yeah, optional. I think, so this is a lot of people in the right-wing conspiracy community, they keep referring to a great awakening. Like, a lot of people are waking up right now. It's kind of like in the Matrix. They're taking the red pill and they're kind of seeing the world in different ways. One thing that I've realized this year is that most people are just blindly okay with sending their child to a government building for 8 hours a day that all teaches the same curriculum that seems to be going into this weird Marxist direction, which we always disagree about. But, so the point I'm trying to make is, so look at me, I'm a millennial. When I was in the 5th grade, we had a whole semester teaching us that racism was bad. And that is a good thing. We had to write papers on Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. So we are the children of the early woke days, where it was more about content of character.
You mean, and in those days, the way it was done then, you approved of it? It seemed
absolutely.
like a good thing?
Absolutely. Because I look around at people my age, most people aren't racist. So the point I'm trying to make is, it used to be more about judge people about the content of their character. And now, not only colleges, but now public school is teaching this critical race nonsense, which highlights that races are different.
Well, we've had this discussion before, and I think we fundamentally agree on that.
Exactly. I think I'm on a roll.
Yeah.
Churning up. But here's the thing, is that public schooling, we should start looking at it more skeptically, especially because they're trying to hide the fact. Did you hear that Zoom teachers said that there's a rule that parents can't be in the same room as their kid during a Zoom call at home? That's scary. That should scare everybody.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'd heard that, but I suppose that I can kind of understand it. I don't think that's the worst idea they've come up with. There's some things that parents and teachers might want to discuss, that it might be best if the kid wasn't there.
Uh-huh.
If
Or no, if the parent wasn't there. That's what you meant to say, right?
No, I thought you said that the Zoom conferences. You said that maybe I misunderstood you. What did you say?
There was a rule that the parents could not be in the same room.
Oh, the parents couldn't be in there.
Yes, which makes you wonder, what are they teaching?
Nah, that sounds. I don't know what that's all about. So.
I saw a video the other day, and by the way, I want to do an episode in the future where, Eric, you watch 2 episodes of this show, and then we just talk about it. Because there's this show, it's called You Can't Stop Progress. I watched an episode last week, and they had a school. I don't even know how old. Maybe it was like 8th or 9th grade. And somebody was on stage and I don't even want to say this because it's embarrassing, but like they were on stage like saying words like they were reading. It was like a pornographic story to children.
On page 19, not that it really matters in 4th grade, at a church youth group meeting out in the bushes, I touched Doug Goebel's and he touched mine. In fact, there was even some mouths involved. And that's on page 91. What if I told you I touched another guy? What if I told you I sucked it? I was 10 years old, but it's true. I put Doug Goebel's in my mouth.
And
Who was?
It was either a teacher or a student.
A pornographic
story, yeah. So they're trying to make these kids woke, and they're teaching kids pornographic things, and it's like, this is disgusting. And if you disagree with it, are they going to call you far right? Because that's what's so comforting about it to these people. It's like, oh, okay, we can say the word sucking to a bunch of children because it co-aligns with the. Did you see that?
See what?
That light.
No.
I don't know why.
Outside?
Yeah, like it was like a camera
It might be
flash.
lightning.
It was lightning, but sometimes I get a camera flash, like, and it's not lightning outside. It freaks me out.
Oh.
But you know what I mean? So isn't that like kind of disgusting?
It is disgusting, and to the extent that is happening as it's being reported, especially by you, then I'm disgusted. I'm horrified.
And if it was hetero, it would be just as bad. That's my whole thing.
Yeah.
Somebody made a good point. They said, it's funny how the woke establishment and these weird TikTok people, but he made the point. He said, they took something fascinating, such as alternative lifestyles, and they made it boring. It's like boring corporate now.
But a relationship between a man and a woman is inherently unequal. And that goes for any relationship where someone is deciding to date their oppressor. Just like all white people have racism brainwashed into them, all males have misogyny brainwashed into them. And any male who claims not to be a misogynist is a misogynist.
And if you watch these TikTok videos, I can't tell you how many times I see these, like, they're just looking at the camera going, so today we're going to talk about bi-pan-romantic sexuality. There are a lot of terms, and, you know, it's like, it reminds me of a pharmaceutical commercial or like a Scientology recruitment video. These people are very clean, corporate, boring. And I saw a news video where this like millennial vegan pale girl with like rainbow hair, she was like, the future of the workspace is we're going to be 6 feet apart, we're going to be separated, and we're not going to have any sexual harassment. And I'm like, you're a robot. What did they do to these people, Eric? They're robotic. It's scary.
Well,
it's concerning. I miss entertainment. I miss personalities. I miss when people would be daring enough to say something offensive. You know? Norm Macdonald just died. You heard about that?
Yeah, and when I saw that, I know you had mentioned him before, and I'd heard that name, but I couldn't equate it with a face or a comic style. And when I realized who it was, and they ran some clips of him that presumably were highlights from where he was supposed to be so hilarious, I was unimpressed.
Oh, what? He's a genius. Norm is a genius.
He seems like a nice guy.
He is.
But I nothing I saw. The most ingenious thing I saw him do, at least in these clips, was when he appeared on SNL as Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
It was just, my God, that I had seen that when SNL was still, back in the days when he was doing that very thing. And I thought, I really love impersonations, even if they're just visual.
And he was good at them.
Boy, he was. That's the only one of his I saw. He just had that nailed.
Yeah.
But I mean, he would.
Well, here's the interesting thing about Norm is nobody knew he had cancer. He didn't tell anybody for 9 years. The last clip I saw, he did a comedy festival, and he just straight up went on stage and.
What my friend told me, he goes, "You gotta get woke." Because I'm not woke. But why is it I have to believe, just because some person believes some fucking shit? You know what I mean? Like I was talking to this lady, and then was a man, whatever the fuck it was. It was a man. But it was clearly a lady.
He didn't even make a joke about it.
I think I know what you mean, and that sounds like something that would normally have gotten him lynched. But was he lynched?
He wasn't
What kind of a
lynched.
reaction was there to that?
I don't think they aired it, but here's the thing.
Well, where did you see it if they didn't air it?
I saw it on YouTube, but as soon as I saw that clip, I was like, oh, what's going on with Norm? Like, I knew immediately. I was like, he's got nothing to lose. I knew that.
Yeah, because he's terminal anyway. Well, do you know anything about his politics before that?
He's a Christian.
He's a Christian.
Yeah, I think he's. I guess I don't know. Everybody who isn't freaking Black Lives Matter is now right wing, so it's hard to tell. But he wasn't afraid. Actually, a couple years ago, he made a statement and he said, "Remember the Me Too movement where all the celebrities were going down for sexual harassment?
Yeah.
When Louis C.K. went down, and then Roseanne went down, not because of Me Too, but because being a racist." He made a statement on a radio show. He said, "I'm glad the Me Too movement is slowing down." He got crucified by the media, and he was just about to have his show released on Netflix. So not only was his show going to get canceled, but all the money that the company put into it, which is expensive, probably over $1 million, was at stake because he criticized the Me Too movement. He had to go on stage and apologize. Like, that is the state of the world we are living in right now.
Well, I agree that we're going a little overboard with all of this neoliberal bullshit where you can't. Nobody wants to hear anything controversial.
I have a theory about the Me Too movement. It started cooking up in about 2015. Like Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, Louis C.K. Basically, they took men, and I'm not even saying what these men did wasn't wrong, but it became a very feminist narrative that roasted men, and it was like, time's up, men. Your time is over. And my opinion on the Me Too movement is like, yeah, maybe it was annoying and I lost my favorite comedian, Louis C.K., but at the same time, I do think the Me Too movement had some good. It probably did some positive
Well, it
change.
didn't come out of nowhere. There always has been a lot of pretty intensive sexual harassment out there.
Yeah.
In the workplace and elsewhere.
Well, now the workplace is going to be sterilized and boring.
Well, maybe.
But here's the thing. I think that they started cooking up the Me Too movement a couple years ago because I think they wanted celebrities to get used to the fact that speaking out will throw you to the mob. We'll throw you to the angry mob. We'll lynch you. We'll destroy your career. And I think it was a big coincidence that a couple years later, no celebrity besides Nicki Minaj and a couple others are speaking out because they're afraid to speak out. And I think the Me Too movement primed people to get used to that. Sounds a little crazy, but
Interesting theory.
interesting theory. How long have we been going, Eric?
I don't know what time
I
is
think
it?
we got about an hour and something.
Yeah.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah. there was, there's all kinds of things that I was trying to remember for this. Did you see how Zuckerberg is really under the heat right now because of his YouTube? That's his outfit, right? That's
Facebook.
Facebook is, and there's some feature on Facebook, Instagram. I don't even know what that is, but apparently it's something that American teenage girls of 14 and under are addicted to. They'll sit up all night with their goddamn phones and just obsess over what they're bringing up on Instagram.
I think everybody is addicted to that, but yeah, go on. I mean,
I don't even know what it is.
Well, that's my favorite part about Eric, is you don't even know what Instagram is, so that's awesome.
and I don't, from what I've heard, I don't want any part of it. I don't like Facebook. I think Facebook it's just a chat board. It's bullshit. Anyway, these girls are getting super depressed over what they're seeing on Instagram because it's flashing a lot of imagery of women as they should look like and should behave, right?
Beauty standards.
Yeah, beauty standards, and these girls are just feeling really, they're feeling shredded because they don't look like that.
Oh yeah.
It gets them profoundly depressed, and apparently there are even some suicides.
Oh yeah.
And Zuckerberg he's cleaning up. He's resisting any attempts that anybody makes to reform his operation because he's making so much money. Here's a guy, he's already a multi-billionaire, I guess, something on that order.
Oh yeah.
But it's not enough for him. That's something about these people. No matter how much they have, they always want more. It's not because they really need it. I think they even recognize that they don't need it. But it doesn't matter. It just intoxicates them to have that kind of money and to make more of it.
Oh yeah.
Now, what do you think about him? Should his operation be, I don't know about canceled, but regulated, reformed? What are we going to do about that little asshole?
See, this is where it gets tricky because every time people bring up regulating the internet, there are some utopian aspects to it. Like, if the government started regulating the internet, perhaps it would be a better place. I'm more of like anarchist, let everything just roam wild.
Yeah, that's what you seem to be. That's what you bill yourself.
So these people are saying that these young women are killing themselves because Facebook is promoting like beautiful models.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying I buy into that story completely, but I mean, there's something is going on there. This is apparently quite disturbing. A lot of kids are girls especially, of course, becoming profoundly depressed, and there have been some suicides, which, fairly or not, are being attributed mostly to their addiction to Instagram.
I mean, this is the whole basis of what my channel is about, and I 100% think that young people today have almost mountains worse than people back in the days where you died of dysentery in the medieval times. Because most young people now, there are these beauty standards that are making them depressed.
But they've always been there.
Yeah, but
there've always been these ideals that have been presented to people in all sorts of venues. Movies, TV. Hell, back before movies and TV, there must have been the images like that could not have been nearly as prevalent and in our faces as they are now. But I mean, going at least as far back as the advent of television is when it really started intensifying. We all started seeing well before just the advent of the movies.
Oh yeah.
There were the screen, starting even with the silent movies. They presented us with imagery about people, highly idealized people, and we all felt a little inadequate by comparison.
Exactly.
What's going on now?
Well, here's the thing: is that like Hollywood, I think people underestimate how powerful it is. That when Hollywood was kind of invented in the 20s. That was going to become an extremely influential thing on society for decades, So, going back to the Zuckerberg thing, I think young girls getting suicidal because everybody's so pretty on Facebook, I think that is one of the most inconsequential aspects of Facebook, because Facebook, I don't even get on Facebook anymore, but the last time I got on it just to look somebody up, they were blocking out posts, like with blurry walls, saying this has been classified as misinformation, this has been taken out of context. That is a dystopian nightmare scenario. So, if this, I guess you can call it a teenage protest against Facebook, is going to put Mark Zuckerberg to the flames, I support it. I hate Zuckerberg. I hate that bastard. And a lot of the times on this channel, I'll take Zuckerberg and I'll roast him as if he's like the evil demon behind it. I don't think that Zuckerberg is this all-powerful guy. I think Zuckerberg is just an extension of the government. He is doing the government's dirty work, just like Elon Musk.
What dirty work for the government is he doing exactly?
Censoring misinformation. A lot of people like to fall under this spell of belief where they think, oh, this one guy is behind all this. No. Facebook censors according to governments. So maybe in Brazil, say there's like a big meth problem in Brazil, I'm sure the Facebook in Brazil will censor meth-related Facebook posts. So, yeah, that's the whole thing. We should do a whole episode on about internet regulation, because that would be interesting. Before we end it, I have to tell this story real quick, and I even have footage to back it up. One of my friends, like a dear old friend, she just called me up last week. And I picked up, and I haven't talked to her in a while. And she immediately sounds like she's been drinking wine, you know? She's like kind of maybe buzzed. And she immediately starts going, she tells this story, and she goes, I was driving my car the other day, and I saw this white emo kid. I don't know if you know what an emo kid is. Like a goth kid.
Right.
And she was like, and then I saw this little black 5-year-old kid wandering the streets, and the police came up to him because the police probably thought he was a lost child. They were probably worried about him or whatever. I don't know the context. And then she went on this rant. She was like, and it just made me think about white privilege and how the white kid and I said, Alex, I was like, let's not talk about this. I was like, because we're going to get into an argument about this. So we started arguing. And of course, she immediately starts going in on misinformation on the internet. So, and they use this argument all the time. Well, what about an 11-year-old kid? Like, anyone can create a YouTube video. I mean, heck, you're doing it, and like, you have a lot of like opinions about the world that aren't necessarily true. But like, if you see it, like, for example, 10-year-olds are watching YouTube videos and are regurgitating that information and like telling their parents and like people they know, and everybody's just like believing what they want to believe. What if he goes on the internet? God, I have heartburn. Hold on. What if he goes on the internet and sees all the racism and the racist posts and the health misinformation? I'm like, you strawmanning garbage. I hate these people. They try to use children as what 12-year-old is going on the internet and getting deep into conspiracies and alt-right racism? You know what I mean? Like, that is such a straw man, bullcrap thing to say. Anyways, I immediately called her out for being a communist, and then of course she starts defending communism. She's one of those people. You ever meet people, Eric, and they won't admit what their politics are, and they say, oh, I don't believe in anything, I'm not left or right? You ever meet those people?
I don't meet many of them, but I know what you mean.
It's a smokescreen.
Mm-hmm.
Because she immediately starts defending communism. And then...
Did she use that word? She defended communism?
Yeah.
Does she have any better idea of what communism is than you do?
No way. She kept calling me a right-wing parrot. She said, that's all you do is parrot right-wing?
This used to be a friend of yours?
Well, we're not friends anymore because she hung up
Apparently
on me. Have you been on Facebook lately? If you make a certain post, doesn't a little thing pop up that says misinformation? How is that not censorship? I can't believe people think.
I mean, you're still allowed to say it.
A God-given right means a right that's just you naturally have no matter what, and they cannot take it away. But they're taking it away, and people like you are defending it, and that worries me. Because
I'm
I
not
don't,
defending anything.
I don't
You're
think
defending, if
I-
anything.
I don't think that the future you think is going to happen is going to happen, and I think by the
I don't
time
think
you
it's gonna
realize
happen
it, it's
either,
going to
but
be
it's
too
gonna be
late.
me.
Angle of
I gotta go.
politics. Of course, hang up. And we're not friends anymore. And at this point, I'm done with these people. I'm done debating people about this, like misinformation. You want the internet to be censored because you think that your side is winning, you idiot. But the point I was just about to make is, yeah, she starts defending communism, and I realize I'm done with these people. I can't do it anymore with them. Sorry, that was a long-winded speech, but I have footage to back it up.
Footage? You were taping yourself in this conversation?
Well, since we're making the documentary, I've been filming everything lately, and I'm getting like addicted to it. It's really fun to like film everything.
It makes you feel a little like God, doesn't it? Because you can manipulate reality in some ways, and just record the moments that you want to record, and the rest never happens.
Yes.
Almost.
Anyway, Eric, sorry, I went on kind of a long, selfish rant there. I worked on our backdrop.
Yeah, I see.
Tony Soprano.
Tony
you know who that is?
Well, give me a minute here.
Okay.
I want to say Johnny Depp is Ed Wood.
It's Marshall McLuhan.
Really?
You know who that is?
Yeah, well, sorta. I mean, I remember when he was a thing. That was back in the 70s. And even then, I didn't know what the fuss was about.